You know that feeling when you ask your parents for a very specific gift and they get you some sort of no-name alternative instead? Take me, for instance. I asked for a new Apple Watch for my birthday, but ended up with some weird, cheap sham of a smartwatch instead. I'm sure something like that has happened to everyone at least once, and it's hardly a scary story on its own, but unfortunately, that's just a setup for my story. Even though it wasn't exactly what I wanted, I'm not the kind of girl to get my panties in a bunch over something so trivial. Plus, I didn't want to upset my parents. I knew they meant well. That's why I pulled myself together and performed an Oscar-winning performance of how happy and excited I was with the smartwatch I got. I even decided to give it a go, although I was pretty sure this thing would never function properly. However, the watch turned out to work out all right. In fact, it was shockingly good. It easily synchronized with my iPhone, even though I didn't think it was possible for a sham. I managed to download all the apps I needed, and the battery worked for way longer than any other smartwatch I've ever seen. It could go non-stop for several days in regular mode, and for about a week in power-saving mode. I also got myself a stylish steel magnetic band for it. At the end of the day, I was almost as happy with my gadget as I would have been with an actual Apple Watch. I ate, worked out, drove, listened to music, and answered calls with my smartwatch without a single issue. For several months, nothing unusual happened. At least I didn't notice anything, even if it did. But after a while, it started showing me some weird alerts every now and then. They seemed like system notifications from my different apps, which is why I didn't think much of it at first. My weather forecast app would give me very specific tips on how I should dress for the weather. My motivation app would suggest an activity that I just happened to be discussing with my friends. My productivity app would automatically add tasks that I needed to do but always forgot to set up. Weird, right? However, all those things were actually quite handy, so obviously I didn't really mind at all. But then, it got a whole lot more sinister. When I came home from college for winter break, my older sister asked me to babysit her daughter for a day. She and her husband were going to some sort of charity event, and their usual sitter was out of town. I was happy to do it. I've always loved kids, and my baby niece was hands down the most adorable one. But the day that I babysat her, she wasn't her best, cutest self. She was teething, and the discomfort was making her cry for hours. Around 4 p.m., I was completely exhausted and desperate to calm her down. I decided to take her out for a walk. I thought that maybe some fresh air and the rocking of the stroller would put her to sleep. That didn't help at all. In fact, I was pretty sure she started crying even louder. People on the street were gawking and giving me annoyed looks. It was torture. I remember mumbling to myself, "Ugh, how do I make you shut up?" As if in immediate response to my question, my smartwatch started vibrating. I stopped in front of a crossroad to look at the screen and shuddered. It was a notification from my productivity app that said, "Push it under the bus." Weirded out and confused like never before, I looked around. I guess when I saw a bus coming right towards the crossroad that I stopped on. Coincidence? I wasn't so sure. I crossed the road and started walking back home. Whatever that was, it really creeped me out. I needed to get home where it was safe. I felt another vibration on my wrist. Cold and sweaty, I looked at it once again. "Just do it. You'll feel so much better," was the message that greeted me from my motivation app. At this point, I was freaking out. With shaking hands, I turned off my smartwatch and kept walking as fast as I could. A few seconds later, another vibration. I looked at it with disbelief. It had turned itself on. I didn't know it could do that. I was so terrified that I felt an urge to get the thing off me immediately. But all of a sudden, the magnetic wristband wasn't unfastening. The more I tried to take it off, the tighter it became. At one moment, it clasped my arm so hard that I barely held in a scream and let go of the stroller for a second. The road was slippery, so the stroller slid down the pavement. I immediately forgot about my arm being in pain and rushed to the baby. Thankfully, the nearest car managed to stop right before hitting the stroller. I grabbed it and ran back to the sidewalk. The driver yelled some very choice words at me and drove away. And I was left shaking and petrified with my baby niece, safe, but crying hysterically. A few moments later, I realized the wristband had stopped gripping my arm, so tight as soon as I gave up trying to take it off. I didn't know what to think about all that, so I just tried not to. When I got home, I fed the baby and she finally calmed down and fell asleep. My watch didn't do anything disturbing for quite some time, and I actually managed to calm down for a little bit. I sat back and thought of a rational explanation for everything that had happened, and my brain easily found one. Looking at it now, I probably just wanted to find comfort and stop stressing out about something really creepy that I couldn't control. But back then I thought to myself, maybe someone hacked my watch and made it act weird to scare me, and the wristband just got stuck. I knew that I had to figure out what to do with all of this, but since the watch didn't say or do anything creepy for hours, I thought that it could wait. When my sister came for the baby, I didn't tell her anything. I didn't know how. Would she believe me? Would she think I'm crazy and unreliable, considering how troublesome our relationship used to be in the past? I was willing to bet it'd be the second option. After she left, I decided to do some baking. My old high school friend Sally was coming over to catch up, and I thought it'd be nice to make an apple pie. She got there before the pie was done, and she had a bottle of rose wine with her. I opened the bottle, and we went to the living room for a chat. As I was pouring the wine, Sally started pouring the details of her toxic on and off again relationship. At first, I tried to be supportive, but on the second glass of wine, I realized that Sally didn't come here to catch up with me. Her relationship with her boyfriend that I've never met was all she wanted to talk about. That was really annoying. So when the oven timer went off, I saw this as a welcome distraction. We sat down at the kitchen table, and I started cutting the pie. Sally, who had stopped whining about her boyfriend for literally just a second, went back to her favorite topic once again. I was seriously considering shoving a piece of pie down her throat just to shut her up. That's when I felt a light vibration on my wrist once again. I was so irritated and distracted that I didn't even think much of it until I saw the message the watch had for me. I froze right where I stood. Just stab her, the notification said. Hey, are you okay? Sally finally stopped talking about herself. You're really pale. Another vibration. I glanced at the screen. The knife is already in your hand. What are you waiting for? I gasped for air and dropped the knife on the table. I looked at Sally. She was worried. You should go. What? I don't feel so good. I'm sorry. You need to leave. Oh, well, maybe I can get you a glass of water. No, I almost yelled. Just leave, please. I'm sorry. She shrugged but finally left. She seemed offended, but that was the least of my worries. After she left, I tried again to get the smartwatch off of me. I couldn't do it. The metal band had a death grip on my arm. It wasn't tightening up like it did outside, but it wasn't loosening up either. I was freaking out. I tried submerging it, but soon realized the watch was waterproof. I attempted to cut off the band with scissors, but the metal was too strong. I even struggled to saw it off, but I only kept cutting my own arm by mistake. Crying from fear and pain, I sat on the ground, defeated. I was so utterly shocked from all of this that I barely remembered the rest of the night. I felt woozy, stupefied, and completely helpless. It's been 10 days since then. I still haven't found a way to take this thing off, and it keeps getting worse. A couple of days after this all began, the watch started threatening me and told me to just end myself. I don't know what to do. I'm so scared. And I don't have anyone to talk to. I can't worry my parents like that. My dad has a weak heart, and I can't just burden him with all of this. But I can't take it anymore either. The only way I see is to wait till the battery dies. But I'm not even sure how long that'll take. After all this time, the battery is still at 65%. It's insane. I have no other choice but to wait. I'll be patient and wait till this watch is dead. I just hope it won't drive me into doing something I'll regret for the rest of my life. I also hope that it won't kill me before that.